Okay, so what we're looking at here is the mobile app interface, and the workflow for the mobile app and the facial recognition kiosk are the exact same. The only difference being the mobile app would be on somebody's device, whereas the kiosk would be on a device that multiple people use. And on the kiosk, obviously multiple people could go up to use it at one time, and they would be authenticated through facial recognition. Once they've been authenticated, this is the workflow they would be encountered with. So to begin, as an employee, I just punch in, and as you would expect, the clock kind of just keeps on ticking. If they're on the mobile app, we do have the ability to send out custom meal break reminders. So you can customize exactly what these say and what time they go out into an employee's shift. So in this example, we're sending an alert out at 4 hours and 45 minutes to try to remind the employee to take their meal break prior to the 5th hour of their shift. Once on the meal break, you'll notice that the end meal break button is grayed out, and we keep them locked out for 30 minutes to ensure that their meal breaks will always be at least 30 minutes to protect you from any liability. We can send an additional reminder to let them know they've been on break for 30 minutes to remind them to clock back in from their break. And you can see once the 30 minutes is up, this meal break button also becomes interactive. We can send a final reminder to remind them to punch out if you're worried about them going into overtime or are concerned with them forgetting to clock out at the end of the day. Once clocked out, they'll be presented with a shift overview screen. This shows all of their key punches throughout the day, when they clocked in, started their meal break, ended their meal break, and clocked out at the end of the day. We have two options to move forward from this point. If they happen to make a mistake, they have the ability to submit a correction. And this correction is in the form of a blank text field, so they can write pretty much whatever they want, although we do encourage them just to put the times that they would like to have changed. If they approve the shift, they get what we call the daily attestation. This language is customizable, but the basic idea is to have them attest that they took their meal breaks on time, they were given the opportunity to take their paid rest breaks, and that they were not injured. And if they were, that they should leave a note or contact their supervisor. After completing all that, they are returned to the punch-in screen and are ready for work the next day. Now, for management, you'll primarily be living in what we call the admin panel. So when you first log in, you'll see some key KPIs, how many employees are currently working, how many employees had problems over the past 24 hours, and just kind of like your hours roll up for the last 30 days. In the employees area, we have a list of all of your employees. To add an employee, you simply click on Add an Employee. And to get started, you really only need a first name and last name and a password. If you wanted to collect additional information about them, you absolutely could store that here as well. And if for whatever reason you needed to terminate an employee or they just moved on their own accord, we keep them in two different statuses, active and inactive. If you take them off your active roster, they won't appear on the kiosk roster anymore. They won't appear in your employee list unless you go to the inactive employees. But all historical data for that employee will be retained. And if they're to come back to your organization, you can just mark them active again, and they can continue to use their old account. The vast majority of the time that you'll spend in the application will actually be within time cards. So at a glance, you'll see all of your employees and how much time they've worked over a given date range. We break this out into regular overtime and double overtime if applicable. And you'll also notice that some of their names are highlighted. I can filter down to those highlighted employees by clicking on Show Deviations. And within Show Deviations, we have a couple different colors. You'll see a light red color and an orange color. The light red indicates that the employee has either left a note or they forgot to clock out and the system ultimately punched them out at 16, 17 hours. If it's in orange, then there's a potential meal infraction. That would mean that they had a late meal, started the meal after the 5th hour, or they failed to take the meal altogether. But what we're doing is trying to draw your attention to any problems on a day-to-day basis. That way they can be rectified, and that makes processing payroll a lot easier. So if we go in here, we can see that Tuesday the 3rd is the culprit. There's a red dot here. and it looks like this employee left a comment. And it looks like they wanted to make a change to their meal start time. So the administrator could come in, reference that comment, make a change to the meal, and then approve the shift after they've made that change. Editing times and adding times is also a very simple process. These cells here for punch in, meal start, meal in, and punch out operate just like Excel cells, and they also take shorthand. So if I wanted to add a shift, say from 8 to 5 with a lunch from 12 to 1, I could just simply type in 8A, 12P, 1P, and 5P. Now, at the end of a pay period, once you've processed everything and all errors are corrected, you'll want to get the time out somehow. By default, if I use an export, it's going to export everyone. If I wanted to keep it to just a select few people, you can check the boxes next to their name. We have a wide variety of exports available, and we do import into a lot of different payroll companies. So we may be able to export a CSV and import that directly into your payroll provider so that you don't have to key in your times at the end of each pay period. That being said, a lot of people do like to just key in their times, and they like to hand out time cards to their employees. The most popular version I have is the very first one. And this is the employee time cards export, and we have it in PDF format for easy printing. And what this will generate will be one employee per sheet with all of their shifts, days off, and hours total on a page. Well, that is kind of the 10,000 foot view of Worksana. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Thanks.